It's going here.
Goodness. We got a friendly group today. Oh, beautiful. So, Tami Norris from Custom Training Solutions, and we do just a variety of work with workforce development. So, the idea is that we are trying to help businesses find what areas that they need in terms of employee development, and then help them to implement a solution. And you've heard Jason and I, if you were on earlier, we were talking a little bit about Simon Sinek, and I've been listening through Hoopla to one of his books. I've listened to it a couple of times. The one that's Finding Your Why, and have been reading the Leaders Eat Last books as well. So I came up with the idea of talking a little bit about what those books entail, and how does it apply to us. And as the majority of folks on here, with being a small business owner, you have a lot of hats that you wore, and we talked about the resources that are available through the chamber to help with that. And one of the things I want to encourage you is a balance between being a subject matter expert and also being a business owner. So, Dan has that large booklet of information that he has to read in terms of running his business as the being an expert in that field or learning in that field. We also want to make sure, though, to make time that in our schedules that we devote some of that to business management and running and continuing that part of your education as well. So that's what's gotten me into making sure that I spend time, not only pursuing this PhD, or I should say it's a doctorate, but also reading or listening to books from authors like Simon Sinek and um, John Maxwell and Barbara Corcoran. She has an interesting book out. Just making sure that there's a balance between those aspects, because one needs the other. In order for you to be a subject matter expert and be able to go out there and do your business, you need to know your business and you need to know how to run your business. So that's what brings me to why I was reading Simon's book. Got to hear a great TED talk from him, and Google that if you haven't, where he explains it very well. And I'm just going to give a synopsis of that. So I know Dan was wondering why the Xavier pink, hot pink, that's not even one of their colors. And we know that Jason was Googling Xavier mascots and such this morning. And hot pink is not Xavier's color, but I happen to love the shirt. And more so, I love the person that is a student at Xavier, which is one of my boys. And my sons and my community are a lot of what drive my why of what I do. So, being in workforce development, we are privileged to work with businesses in the area to help them be successful. And successful businesses help drive a successful community. I also very much enjoy the work that I get to do with Springfield schools. So right now they are developing a portrait of a Springfield graduate, and they've engaged various community people, parents, business leaders, people from the schools to help build that vision. And a successful school system also drives a successful community too. So the pink shirt represents. They had a walk last year, a fundraiser for a scholarship fund at Xavier, and that you could walk in honor of somebody. So since my son got his bachelor degree last year and didn't really get to have a graduation ceremony, I participated in this 5K and didn't win, but had fun, and it gave me a chance to do something in honor of him and bettering myself and helping to help others within their community. So that's a little bit of the why of that pink shirt, was representing who I do things for, one of the people, and also doing things for myself, driving a healthier me. So when we look at this book from Simon Sinek, one of the things I made a tie to is, why did he focus on the word why? And if you think about it, why is one of the early on words that we start to use. You get mama and dada and all of those kind of things going. And then at somewhere around 2 or 3, our little darlings learn that word why, and you will hear it for the next 2 years or so or more. And I thought, well, maybe that's not it's not just something that happens, but I think that maybe there's a real deliberation there, and that can really tie to what we're talking about today, because we have this underlying need to know why. Why is things designed this way? Why do people do what they do? Why is that, so that doesn't go away in us. And if, as a business owner, you can tap into that, understanding why you do something, and then being able to explain that to other people so that they can share your vision, I think that's actually a very key point of being able to connect with other folks and explaining our businesses. So, one of the quotes that I pulled from Simon is that we find more meaning in what we do when we know why we do it. Let's just mull over that for a bit. So there I am in that pink shirt. If you didn't get to see it, it's the hot pink Xavier shirt. So we talked a little bit about it. So wanting to make a better community for my family and friends. So in this book by Simon Sinek, one of the things that he does to break down to explaining our businesses and the why is something called the golden circle. And the golden circle has 3 rings to it: why, how, and what. So when we think about when we meet somebody, um, and we start talking about our business, a lot of times one of the first things that we're doing is talking about what is it that we do. We explain how the business works possibly, but you come at them with all that what type information. And what he's saying is that we may want to flip that around and start with the why piece. Now I have to do a little PowerPoint magic here. Hang on a second. PowerPoint and I sometimes don't get along with each other. Can you imagine that? Even though we've used it for 100 years, still we have our moments.
I'm sure you know somebody has a class on that or something, right?
I wish I did. Man, it'd be great. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, you just continued being bad there. So I might have to show the slide in a different way so I can see what I wrote down. But give me an example of describing what you do. Can I pick on Matt Meeker for a moment? So tell us the what piece of what you do in your organization.
Oh, we're not starting with why.
Nope, we're gonna flip it around and then flip it back around again.
I start with why, but starting with what.
Yep.
I receive information and populate forms to complete a subscription for a service from a financial services company. I mean, technically, what do? I'm on a computer. I'm talking to people on the phone. There's a little task. Every task, that it boils down to taking care of little tiny administrative things. What's that date of birth? Do they use tobacco in any form? How many years do they need it's that sort of little tiny pieces of administrative input that have to end up being the way to complete an application, for example. That's what I do, I guess.
Yeah, and you've kind of got elements, I think, in there too of the how. So the what is, maybe the providing insurance or something like that, and then the how is the forms and some of those types of things that you do. And then so you get to the why, like you said, some of you already are starting off with this of what drives or behind all that. And I think for some folks, it's you got to spend some time figuring that out for yourself before you're able to articulate that to other people. So, and the other piece of it is that the 3 things need to be in alignment with each other, so that we make sure that the why, drives the how and the what, that they're not in conflict, because then your message will get cluttered as you try to deliver that message to other folks. So let's break it down a little bit more and what each of the circles are. And it's hard because you try to think of them and I knew Matt could handle the pressure, but when you're just joining them like that, it's hard to explain the one without some elements of the other. So the what is the products you sell, the services you offer, your role in the organization, your job title. Those are all the what pieces. The how is how you deliver something. So what is, it could even be your unique selling proposition. So an example might be that you have two tax folks that are so their what is the same, that they are able to do taxes for your organization. So the how is how they go about doing that. So it may be that one of them uses a box product and one is doing things by hand. I know. I was waiting for Dan to fall off his chair when I said that. I wasn't talking about him. No, but their approaches may be different. Or two educators. We know teachers in our lives that let's pick a subject area like English, and one of them is maybe straight lecture, and the other one does project-based learning. They're both teaching the same topic area, English. It's the approaches that they take, the how, and that is driven by strengths and values and principles. So a little bit of that why comes into play with that. So the organizations, though, that can get to that why, it's your purposes, the cause, your belief system. It's answering the question of why do you get out of bed every morning? And why does your organization exist? Not just because we do these products and services and stuff, but why is that organization really there? What is driving that? Why should anybody care what you do? And those are tough questions, and they're kind of hard to articulate because it's something that in the back of your head, but how do you get that out? And much to this might be to some people's disappointment, but making money is not a why. that is a what you do, and it's great when it aligns with your why. But there's a why. There's a why that you make the money. So, is there something that you're trying to do with that money? Is it you're trying to support your family? Is it that you love to travel? What is the core behind I want to make money? And that's what inspires you then to get out of bed, to do that job, what have you. So, and this is where I was having a little bit of fun in making this exercise too, is the idea of what is the direction, which way do we often communicate when we're sharing about our businesses? And not everybody, because I know this is a great, unique group. Sometimes though, folks that aren't used to doing business networking and such, as we meet them and get to know them, they go right with the what, and they go right with the sell. And for folks that are seasoned networks, like many of you are, sometimes that can be off-putting. I want to get to know a little bit more about you. Can I trust you? The why behind your being in business tells me a lot about your nature and such. And then it gives me that confidence of that feeling, is this going to be a good potential business relationship? That's why we do those one-on-ones, is we're trying to find out a little bit more about each other and how we can help each other out. I'm not going for just a sales pitch with somebody. So here is a couple examples. This is why I need to see my behind the scenes. I wrote this down, and I grabbed this presentation. This was something that Simon Sinek had made available, and I've just added to it a little bit. So here's an example of a law firm that might be chatting with you, starting with the what. So I'm Bob and I'm a lawyer. We specialize in a wide range of practices. We transform complexity into simple action. We go above and beyond for every day. Come do business with us. All right, so I've kind of started from the outside and not even fully gotten into the why yet. that what and the how don't necessarily inspire action. They're not resonating maybe with you because you don't know what's driving everything behind where they're coming from. So organizations or people that are inspirational, I want you to think about this throughout as we're talking today too. You know, who are folks that when you hear them speak, it's just wow. You know, so you know, like Jason and I were talking about this TED Talk from Simon Sinek, or maybe you're inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. and his speeches. Um, you know, they have that why out there. You know pretty well up front what is driving them and what they believe in. So let's flip that law firm example around. If we start with why, they might start out saying, we exist to enable growth and progress so that people can make a difference they want to make in the world. We do that by specializing in a wide range of practice areas and transforming complexity into action. So it's a very different start to that conversation. Like, oh, it's something that you're used to waiting for that cell to jump right out at you, and that is the second piece of what we're talking about. It's not the thing that we're leading with. So this is where we get into the brain side of things too, that this is not just some wild idea that he came up with, but he actually ties it to parts of your brain and how they work and why it activates that. So you have the golden circle on the left, and then you have like areas of your brain, like the outer brain, the neocortex, and then this deeper area of your brain, the limbic brain that he talks about. The neocortex is engaged with the what level, kind of the what, and then the why and the how is deeper in your limbic brain. And that's where your feelings, like your trust of something or loyalty to someone or something, come from that innermost circle.
Or
It's
your
also
fear,
where, what's that?
or your fear.
Yes, exactly. If something tells you
Amygdala,
this is
right?
not the not something that you should do.
Yeah.
And another book I'm reading talks about system 1 versus system 2. So basically system 1 is the reacting with not necessarily thinking about it. It's just like, oh, that's hot, I'm going to pull my hand back. So that's kind of in that core section as well. So what he is saying is that the why reaches into that. It makes a connection, the why and the how, with that limbic area. And since that's responsible for your feeling of trust or fear, it can help drive the decision making of whether or not that you're trusting this person, trusting their organization. Ultimately, do I want to do business with them or not? Okay. So we want to, if we communicate from the outside in, you're giving a lot of complicated information. If you're communicating the other direction, then you are giving that and working on that connection and building that trust, and then saying what it is that you have this, now that you have this trust here, what is it? What is the services? What is the what part of what you do? So once again, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And looking at it, how all three fit together, you need to have clarity behind your why and understand it, the discipline of how you do it, doing that in an effective way, guided by your strengths, values, principles that come from your why, and then a consistency in what the products that you sell, the services that you offer, the role that you play within your job. And I like this illustration as well. This kind of talked about if you picture a section of that golden circle as a megaphone. So your what is a direct result of the how and the why. So the why has to come through, picking up the how, and as you communicate out, all three messages are delivered, but the core behind it, or the foundation behind it, is the why you're doing the business that you are in. So this is a great story that he shares. He talks a lot about Apple, and with Apple, you have your folks that are diehard Apple users. You can't tell them anything else because they just don't want to hear about it. But what the premise is that the people that are Apple has targeted in the way that they run their business and the types of products that they offer. And they don't necessarily come at you with the feature first, but you get a sense of the kind of people that use Apple products. And if you think way back to some of their old ads, the Apple versus or the Mac guy versus the PC guy, it was just this whole persona of what the Apple person was like. And some of us want to be like, yeah, that's me. I want to be like that. So they're connecting in with that piece of it versus even talking about how many songs can you store on an iPod. So what he was saying is that they don't start with we make great computers, they're beautiful, they have these great functions, they're easy to use, do you want to buy one? They don't start with the technical side of things, but they start by giving this persona of the kind of people that would buy into the Apple dream. We believe in challenging the status quo, so those are the folks that um, do things different. We believe in thinking differently. We challenge by making our products beautiful, simple to use, user friendly, and they are great computers. So that what piece is kind of the tail end. And if you think about it, even in the way that they put their products together, there's an example he gives of how Dell has their logo facing you. So I'm looking at my laptop right now and I've got a Dell logo and I'm the only one that sees that. But one of the things that Apple did before some of the other computer companies was to put that Apple logo on the outside of the lid that lit up sometimes, depending on the model. And so when you were flipping it open at an airport, everybody knew that you were on an Apple computer. So any other computer, though, they just see this, case, and then maybe people put stickers on it or what have you. So yeah, a little bit of a different way of doing business. So I want you to take just a moment, and this takes a lot of time, so we're just going to do it as an introductory exercise. But I want you to think about your why, and you have more than one. There's probably many, but start thinking about this is a little thing called the benefit game. So what you do to help drive to what your why is you write down what your company does. So you just pick a piece of what your company does, jot that down, and then follow up with it of what is the benefit of doing that. And then once you have that benefit, my guess is going to be that there's more behind that. Then you ask yourself, all right, well, what's the benefit of that benefit? And you just keep kind of repeating that process on and on as many times as you can to drill down. And as you keep saying, what's the benefit of that? Well, what's the benefit of that? And a quick example that I found is like a company that sells electric cars. So what's the benefit of that? Well, we help people drive in an environmentally friendly way. Okay, well, what's the benefit of that? It reduces pollution that's caused by driving. Right, what's the benefit of that? It reduces human contributions to climate change. What's the benefit of that? It reduces harm to life on Earth. All right, so you keep making yourself ask more and more because it's not always on the surface. You know what the benefit is, but is there a benefit to that benefit? And as you keep drilling down to it, that's where you start to formulate what is the why behind this particular thing that you are doing. And then to build that why statement, what you can do is ultimately end up with a pattern that looks something like this. To do something so that something else. Okay. And I pulled a couple from this. This was, of course, Simon Sinek and then another author as well. So a why statement that Simon had come up was to inspire people to do the things that inspire them so that together we can change our world. So it's that cause and effect type of thing. And then this Dean Bokhari, to empower and educate people everywhere so that they can improve their lives and achieve their goals. So as you work through that benefit exercise and keep saying, what's the benefit? What's the benefit? Hopefully that drills you down to a level of really what's behind what you're trying to do. And then you can formulate that into a statement that you potentially can use as part of your introduction and talking about what your business does. You know, leading off with this piece and then backfilling in the other parts of your benefits and services and things that you offer. One other playoff on this I wanted to share just briefly in another book. Um, this is from a book by John Gordon, Dan Britton, and Jimmy Page, One Word That Will Change Your Life. And it is spiritually driven, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have a religious belief necessarily to do this, but taking and having a word of the year, and I think that needs to directly tie to what your why is. So in their book, they talk about, and you don't just say, oh, this word sounds great. I want to use profitability as my word for the year. My boss may pick that for me, but that isn't necessarily going to work for me. So I have to find something that ties into my why, and then I surround what I do with that word. So you choose a specific word that guides you throughout the year. You always tie back to it with your decisions, your goals, and the things that you want to do through the year. It's kind of like, I'm going to reference the movie City Slickers. I know it's an oldie goodie, but curly, the one word, or more recently, if you can picture Doctor Strange with there was the one scenario in Endgame that would get them out of the situation they were in, the Avengers. But you need to have some time of meditation or prayer or whatever that might look like for you to come up with that word, meditate on your why, and then pull that word, and that becomes your focus for the year then. So another great book for you to visit as well. So watch the TED Talk, visit simonsinek.com, check out the one word book, and make it a great year. All right, Mr. Jason.
Awesome. With 2 minutes to spare.
I try to keep an eye on
It
that
was
time.
good. Does anybody have any last minute questions or comments?
I just want to say that this is very much a part of what coaching is too. Getting to that why. Like, people have all these goals, but until they can tap into that why, it's hard to take it anywhere, because they really have to be able to see what it is that's really underneath it all driving them. And sometimes it's not easy to find. Sometimes it is because I want to have more free time. And I want to do this. I want to be more organized, whatever. I want to have more free time. But why is that? And then, really, if you can push into it, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be there for my kids. I grew up and I didn't have my father, someone was always working, but I want to be there for my kids. So sometimes it really takes that push to get really deep into what their goal is and why.